This is Derek Jackson. This is one of the largest black churches in America, led by this gentleman. What do these things have to do with each other? So what's up, YouTube? So I'm going to start this argument with these stats that come from the Pew Research Organization. And so they might be small for your screen, but I'll add the link in the article. And it talks about how much black adults pray on a daily basis. So if you look for men, it says 53% of men, 69% of women, and pray once a day, pray daily, and 15% pray at least weekly. So pretty much you have about 30% of people who don't pray at all or rarely pray. But if you add all of the people that pray together, you get 53, 15, and 7. So that's over 75%, right? So you can see that at least for men of all ages are pretty regular about praying, right? So if you look at Gen Zs, 48, 19, and 7%, right? So even if you just look at the weekly basis, it's clearly more than the majority, clearly, right? So even for Generation X, you see daily is 67% and 13%. So clearly people haven't turned away from religion in terms of black adults. But if you look at church attendance from the same study, it paints a very different picture. 29% of men go to church on a weekly basis. That's overall. So you got to remember the great majority of people going to church now are boomers and silent generation, right? So if you look at Gen Z, once, twice a month, that's 37%. 31, 32% for millennials, and right under 50%. So you're looking at 43% for Gen Xers, right? So I think you're starting to see some Gen Xers kind of go back to church. But then you look at the men, 29% of men are attending church, black men, on a weekly basis. And if you add once or twice a month, that's 38%. And women, is almost at 50% of women are going to church overall. But you can see a sharp difference in the amount of men who pray regularly as opposed to men who attend church regularly. Now, I'm going to explain in this video why I think this has a strong correlation to the Derek Jackson situation and this thumbnail. So exactly what is the situation in terms of black men in church? I think we can pretty much guess that the attendance is low, as the stats suggest, but I want to show you a representation of how desperate the situation has gotten.
Pastor Jamal Bryant says he's thinking about launching a cannabis business at his church.
He's pastor of New Birth Missionary Church. During a recent interview on the Cool Soror podcast, he said the purpose would be to attract new members with a focus on black men to help the church's membership. He also explained that another goal of starting the marijuana business would be to drive entrepreneurship in the black community. Pastor Bryant did not, however, give a time frame for the project.
Okay, so you can tell that a church is talking about cannabis. That's not the church that I would have recognized as a kid. So clearly, to attempt to allure men into the church by, I don't know, using cannabis as a draw, it shows a level of desperation for the church that I don't think that I would have recognized or even could have imagined, you know, when I was a Bible thumping teenager kid, right? But this is a show of how desperately these churches want to get rank and file black men into the church. So what do these two gentlemen have in common? Well, they have looks, money, status. So we know that. I mean, one has 5 million social media followers, and the other, he runs one of the largest black churches in America, if not the largest. So we know that. They both are 6 feet tall or over. So they have that checked off. And most importantly, they have the ear of black women. So there's not a person in Atlanta that does not know about Jamal Bryant, and many of them listen to his sermons. And it's hard to not be in the black space and not know of Derek Jackson and him sitting in his car giving his sermons, right? Or his lectures, whatever. There's a fourth thing that they both have in common, and it's infidelity. Both married, both caught with alleged infidelity. I'll say that, but I think it's pretty well understood in both cases that that is an issue with both of these men. So the question then becomes, even though these men give all of the advice to young women about what they should want and how they should live their lives and the like, and they are still getting caught up in infidelity scandals, why, even after the infidelity scandals, are they still getting the ear of the women? So this brings us to why black men not only left the church, but are leaving the dating pool. There are two problems. The first problem is that there's no market on the front end for non-select, virtuous, hardworking, non-select men. There's no market for those guys. Average guys, there's no market for those guys. Nobody wants the average guys until they get rich and they can be of service, right? So if you're an average guy who would normally go to church, there's nothing there for you. There's no one in the church that's saying, look, I want to build a family with you, and I haven't had kids yet, and I might be a virgin, a near virgin, and I'm of childbearing age, which is the second problem. The women that these guys want aren't in a church anymore. There's no large amount of women in their 20s with no children in the church. That era has already passed. And to be honest, maybe even the dating pool is reflecting that. There's a growing smaller group of young ladies who are marriage minded in their 20s, looking to build a family and go to church with a hardworking regular guy. And so if you're a hardworking regular guy, there's nothing in church for you. And there's nothing in the dating market for you. So I'm going to get on my soapbox because this is what the regular, non-select, hardworking guy who normally would be going to church wants. The first thing we want is simple. Don't blame all men for these men. These men are married. These men cheated on their wives. And time again, they are forgiven for it because they have looks, money, status. But you also hear on the back end, all black men cheat. Black men don't raise their kids. Black men need to stop or control their organs. And you hear this over and over and over, this drumbeat of nonsense garbage. If you're one of the 60% of guys who either A, don't have kids, or even if you do have kids and you're raising your kids, you get tired of hearing that trash. It's trash. If you're upset at the 25-30% of men who are slinging their thing around, stop having sex with them. Stop having kids with them. Stop. Why is there a line out the door for these gentlemen when you know they're married, you know that they're not faithful, you know that they're going to not be devoted to you? If you want looks, money, status, go after looks, money, status, and stop complaining about it and stop blaming all the other black men for it. Second, the church has to be honest. It's about looks, money, status. If you want men in the church, be straight up, be honest. Are you tall? Are you good looking? Do you make a lot of money? No, then you're probably going to have trouble getting women these days. Start there. Start there. Don't give guys, be a good man and rescue this woman who made mistakes in her youth. Guys aren't falling for that anymore. If your woman is going to reproduce with these guys and then look for another guy to save him, that era is over. It's over. So the church needs to be honest and say, hey, ladies, you need to stop messing around with these guys unless you're going to marry them. And if you don't marry them, then you get what you get. And stop looking for regular, hardworking guys that don't have kids to come into church and rescue people by trying to start a marijuana business. Really? Third, there's no more cleanup men. That's over. Stop trying to get men to come into church to clean up the mess that other men made. The church, the dating pool, the clean up men stuff, it's got to go. If men that are responsible, that are going to take care of their kids, those men want to start families with women that are marriage minded and start their own families. And if the church is not thinking about that anymore, if the dating pool is not thinking about that anymore, then guys are gonna bounce, and that's what guys are doing. That's the correlation between these two guys: looks, money, status. The church is not preaching looks, money, status, and they should be, because that's what it's all about now. It's not about being a good man, a hardworking man, being an honest man, being a man who doesn't cheat on your wife, because women aren't going after those men. They're going after these guys. And so there's nothing left. There's nothing left for regular guys who are doing it the way that the Bible would suggest, and taking care of their kids and getting married first before there's nothing for those guys. There's nothing. There's nothing for them in the church, and there's growing smaller amounts of that in the dating pool. So when you see guys that are talking about being passport bros and shipping out, that's what it's all about. That's it. That's it right there. The dating pool doesn't have anything for us. And so when you start seeing guys shipping overseas and bouncing from the church, nobody wants to be baby daddies or stepdaddies anymore. That's over. Cleanup man is over. The calling all black men sorry because 30% of the men are servicing 80% of the women. No, that's got to go. That's over too. So with that, thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and catch you guys in the next video. Later, guys.